Hello and welcome to another episode of the GrowCast show. And today with me, I have someone who most of you would have seen on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. If you have not, then you're probably subscribed to the premium version. If not, you would have definitely seen him. And I have got Marko in the room with me today. And I'm going to ask him everything and anything about Marko and Friends and about property investing. And I'm so excited to start learning from him. So Marko, first question that I want to ask is, why are you called Marko and Friends?
My wife and I started investing in properties more than 25 years ago. It was more for our own wealth than to become a speaker. Then along the way, I used to be from the electronic trades, and most of my friends start to earn lesser money. But on the other hand, my house is getting bigger and my cars are getting nicer. And so my friend asked, how can you survive in the shrinking industry but living a better life? And I showed them how I make money through properties that we use every day. I did not plan to start a company, a school to make money, but I started to share so that my friends can live as good a life as me. So that's why it's called Marko and Friends and not Marko and Customer.
That's a very interesting, origin of Marko and Friends. But I want to go a little bit deeper. How exactly did Marko and Friends get started?
We started by asking friends if they are interested. And then we gather about 10 friends, 15 friends. And then each one bring their own food. And then potluck-style, buffet-style, kampong-style. We exchange foods, and the training was free for 1 day. I share everything I know about how to buy property, milk them for passive income in a very safe and consistent manner. So that's how we started. And we moved from houses to houses, from HDB flat to landed house, and then on to very small seminar rooms around Singapore. And today we have our own seminar room.
And before you became a property investor, Marko, what were you doing before you became a property investor?
As you know, I buy a lot of properties. That is factory properties, correct? And actually, my job is all along in factories, right? After poly, I work in factories. And then after that, I become a salesman, also work in factories. And then I started my own firm building robots, also in factories. So when I buy, naturally, I buy factories. My business failed, and I traveled around the world to sell very expensive, high-cost, high-tech equipment. Yes, I was a salesman.
And for yourself currently, right, in Marko and Friends, because you've been doing this for a while, how many people are in the Marko and Friends community currently?
Community, I really, maybe about 10,000. I really do not know. I do not count. People come, people go. We do not really maintain that.
And who are the leaders in the Marko and Friends community?
I have 3 other partners. That'll be my wife, Jill, and then my partner, Louisa, and my partner, Ju Hong. And all these 4, including me, 4 leaders. We are the leaders in Marko and Friends. So for me, I'm more a content-driven person. Jill and I have 25 years, so I do more content. Jill, my wife, being more nurturing in character. Like right now, she's doing a morning walk in Bedok Reservoir. She does that twice a week, so anybody can walk with them. And then Louisa is a planner. She's also helped to speak. She also helped to write the notes. She helps me with the content writing. She helps me organize events, find place, fill the room. And then Ju Hong is a very deep thinker. He's very good with numbers. And then he also helped me teach. And then when it comes to parts about calculating numbers, assessing the feasibility of a property, I seek all my partners and we look at a property from 4 different angles. And every activities we conduct, we look at it from 4 different characters, 4 different angles. And these are my leaders. Without the other 3 of them, without their different in character, Marko and Friends would have lasted so long. Many property coaches come and go. And the one who lasts the longest are usually the one who disconnect themselves with their members, but we do not. We last very long and we still connect with our members.
Very nice. And what is the success rate of the property investors in the Marko and Friends community?
Okay, if you come with a very high desire to own, 99.9%. If you come just to watch how people make money, then that depends on you. I also noticed that some people will start to buy on second year. It's funny, they join us for first year and then they observe their friends. They have a lot of doubts going on in their head. And then suddenly in second year, they saw all their friends bought and now they start buying. So it all depends.
Very nice. And what happens during your free weekly property masterclass in person at International Plaza?
I love that session because in that session, I get to mingle with strangers. I show them properties near their house. So because I have many properties, I buy, I invest, I sell, I upsize. So I told every one of them that wherever they stay other than Sentosa, chances are I have a property that they pass by often. So I'll show them that property. I'll show them how much I pay, how much do I sell, how much I rent, and I go through the numbers to convince them because numbers don't lie. Yeah, and usually that's the case. I also listen to their stories. So I get people who are very old, people who are very young, people who are retired, people who are jobless, people who are between jobs, and I do my best to help them, show them the possibility of milking Singapore properties for passive income to live a better life.
And if somebody wants to get started learning from you, Marko, how can someone get started learning in the Marko and Friends community?
Oh, very simple. You can learn by yourself or you can learn by attending my class. Over the last 10 years, I've written thousands of posts. I've shared my views about properties. And then we have also interviewed successful students for the last 3 years every week. So if you look at my old videos, you look at my old Facebook posts, and if you read my books, I've written 4 books, you will be able to get started on Singapore property safely. But if you want to speed up the process, then come join us, sit in the classrooms, and then let us educate more intensively. Our objective is to help you own your first property within the first month.
Very nice. And would you say, Marko, your course fees are cheap or expensive for the average Singaporean?
Tony Robbins will charge a few $100,000, and other teacher will charge 50, 100,000, and I'm paying them. I'm paying them a lot of money because if they can shortcut my journey to success, it's worth it. If you were to attend a course and don't take action, even $5 is too expensive. So I have two spectrum, right? On one hand, I pay a lot of money to attend from the expert. On the other hand, I pay little money to attend lifelong learning courses just to mingle with the crowd and listen to the teachers. So it depends on what you want in life. When it comes to investment, I want to succeed very fast. I want my money to work very hard. I want to be lazy landlord very soon. And with that, I'll find the best coach in the world and I will pay them money. Who is cheap, who's expensive, I do not know. The guy that helps me, the teacher that lights up the most bulbs in my head, that's worth it. The teacher that is a fake, that's very expensive, even though it's cheap. Case in point, to hear Grant Cardone speak. Grant Cardone doesn't come to Singapore. We flew to Vegas, stay in the same hotel as him, and then we sat at the very front row in a 10X conference. We paid a lot of money in the trip, but it's very worth it.
Marko, what would you say? What is the guarantee of success when someone joins the Marko and Friends community?
If you're desperate to be successful, if you can treat me like your swimming coach, whatever I say you do and don't think too much, then there's 99.99% of success owning a property that gives you passive income within the first month. And then upon completion, takes about another 2-3 months. That means you can see your first stream of passive income as soon as within 4 months, if you can follow instructions.
Very nice. And how long has Marko and Friends been around for?
Marko and Friends been around for 10 years. My wife and I, we have been investing for almost 25 years. We started by investing in many different kinds of properties, condominium, properties overseas, and factories. And then in the end, we found that Singapore properties are more predictable, and we scale back on our international efforts and just do 100% Singapore properties.
Very nice. And currently, like you were saying, what happens during your class when someone attends a Marko and Friend class, right? What happens during your weekend workshops?
If you come in and you think the 3 days will be very dry, just sit there and take notes. No, it won't be. We will conduct games. We will conduct exercises. You got to get out of your chair, make some friends. And then, of course, we go through the deep technical stuff where we look at numbers, we calculate, we look at properties. We can also do real case study of searching online for a good deal. And sometimes we even call up the agents in front of everybody and show how we speak to agents. So it's a very, very fun thing. I love conducting class because on the first day, everybody is wary about each other. There's not much connection. On the third day, you see the students, oh my God, their eyes are open, their heart is open, so full of love, full of willingness to share. So they come in as strangers, they go out as friends. And to me, this is priceless.
Tell us about your weekly community walks and what happens during the weekly walks.
So the walks are led by my wife. My morning time is very precious to me. My morning time is where my creative juice is flowing. So I don't go out of the house in the morning. So, but my wife will do morning walk anyway. So every Tuesday and Thursday, there'll be groups of students joining them. Like this morning, despite the rain, there were new students plus old students, and also some students that brings their kids along because it's school holiday. And in the walks, everybody only talk about properties. They cannot talk about alternative investment. We don't like that because we want everyone to stay focused on buying Singapore properties first. And then the seniors will share tips with the juniors, and then everybody will share information openly. If you go to a coffee shop and you see a group of guys, ha 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 ha, laughing very loudly, happily sharing information, that is my wife and the friends.
Very nice. And how much does an average Singaporean employee need to get started in property investing?
5, 10, 15, 20K. That's all it needs. We are not buying very nice condominium that require millions of dollars and there are hundreds of thousands to renovate. We are buying properties that is as low price as 300K and then cost about 2K to renovate. For people with limited cash, this is perfect. And because we don't spend a lot of renovation, we save time. So your property can start earning you money the day you own it officially.
And how much does an average business owner need in order to get started with commercial property investing?
That's easy for them. That's easy, yeah. So if their revenue is like about 500-600K a year upwards, if they have a healthy bank balance about 50K every month, most likely the banks will lend them 90% and above to own a commercial property for their own use. So over the weekend, we have trained some people, and one guy was in events company. So he used his events company to buy properties along the same road that he's renting so that he can store his goods and all that. And eventually he'll be moving to his own units along the same road. So that means he didn't really move at all, except maybe change his some address, that's all. And there's another lady who is doing ID, and she has a carpenter as well, carpenter workshop, and some staff for dormitory. So we are guiding her to buy a small building so that there's a dormitory on top. Downstairs could be a factory, second floor could be an office, and she could hang her signboard. And she's very happy that she could do that because to her, that is a big achievement. Now, she doesn't know that she qualified already because most businessmen are expert in their own field. But when we look at businessmen and we look at their account and we ask them for their dreams, it is very rewarding that when they see that their dreams can come true. Then there's another guy who is into e-commerce. And then he's wondering how come his competitor is able to sell the same good at lower price. So he joined us, he bought some properties. Then he realized that the best way to make money in e-commerce is to own properties, but use the e-commerce company to own properties. And this guy owns about 5 properties with almost 100% financing from the bank. Isn't that beautiful?
And Marko, how do you help business owners specifically get started with property investing?
Most business owners are very good at doing their business, or maybe in the process of doing their business, they do not position themselves as a good client for banks. So they also do not know what kind of properties suits them best. And when they speak to most real estate salesperson, real estate salesperson are looking for their inputs then they can select a properties. For me, when I look at business owner, I look at his plans of expansion or maybe retirement. Then I will plan the properties portfolio according to him. Most business owner thinks that, most of my clients think that they can buy one property and that's about it. We have helped business owner own multiple properties just based on one business alone. In fact, one of them retired and then he used his company's accounts to buy properties. Then he retired, and then from the profit of his properties, he used it to buy out competitors. And then the competitors' account is now added into his own company account, which is now bigger. And then he used that to borrow more money to buy bigger properties. So it's a really spiraling, getting bigger and bigger portfolio. And he also follow my instructions, and he pay his staff very well so that his staff doesn't leave. And his staff work very well, so he's now almost hands-free. He told my partner recently that because of he following our instructions, our suggestions. He's now jobless in certain way, and his job is to buy companies, his competitors, or to buy properties, and he's having one hell of good life.
Very nice. Amazing story.
Yes.
And why would you say, Marko, why is property investing easier for business owners compared to employees?
I used to have employees, and my employees' problems are my problems. If my employee's mother is sick, will that become my problem too? Because he doesn't turn up, he can't focus on his work. But the moment I buy properties and I rent to a tenant, most of the time the tenant don't even know I'm the owner. And then whether his business has problem, whether his parents are healthy or not, or he got boyfriend, girlfriend problem, they only do one thing, they pay rent on time. In Singapore, most business owners are conditioned to pay rent first, then employee salary and pay themselves last. I know that for certain because during 1990s, during the Asian crisis, a lot of factories like Motorola, Panasonic, Hitachi, Sony, Seagate, they start to move out of Singapore. My business went down. I've gone without salary for about at least 6 months, but I pay my rent on time. So I know that feeling, yes. So it's very good if a business owner can start to own business at the side. Income is usually very, very prompt.
And how can business owners leverage on their business to get started in property investing?
Wow, this one is a bit technical. When a business owner joins us, we look at his numbers, we look at his account, we look at his operation, and then we ask him for his dreams. And then 4 of us will put our heads together with another person who is an accountant to see how we can position the books and then position the business and then help him to expand from just business one income to another income called passive income through properties. In fact, Robert Kiyosaki wrote about this in his book, and he says that an aeroplane must have 2 engines. One engine is active income from business, and then use that income to buy property as the passive income.
Very nicely said. And what is the minimum criteria a business must have in order to be able to maximize the leverage with the banks when getting loans?
They must have good cash flow, good business, and then good bank balance, and a little bit of positive revenue. And of course, the bank must also like their business, right? In Singapore, whenever there's a crisis, the first one to feel the pinch is usually F&B, yes or no? So at this moment, the banks are very careful about lending money to people who are in the F&B trade. But if you are at this moment, if you are doing carpenter work, engineering work, construction work, the bank likes you better. So the bank will look at your trade before they decide how much to lend to you. Then they'll look at your books, then they look at your patterns of paying on time or not. Then they decide how much they can lend you, how much more they can lend you after you purchase 1 or 2 properties.
And why do you recommend all business owners to keep a credit card?
So bank looks for 2 things before they lend you money, whether you are individual or you are business. Number 1 is, do you have the ability to pay? So that one, they look at you for your NOA, how much money you earn. Then for the business is how much revenue they are generating and cash flow and all that, right? So that one is done. The second thing that the banks look at you is that, do you have a habit to pay on time? So they don't know, right? So if you are individual, they don't know whether you pay on time or not. The best to look at you is to look at the way you spend your money. When you have a credit card and you pay on time, good. If you don't have a credit card and you pay full, they have no idea. They can't trace. So for people who always says, I have no credit card, I pay full, usually people like that will take about 3 to 6 months after they got a credit card for the bank to lend them money. We have students who have lots of bank balance, 7-figure bank balance, no credit cards. The bank refused to lend them a single cent because the bank has no idea whether this guy pay on time. But when you have credit cards and you pay on time and you have the ability to pay, you are what the bank likes.
And you know, Marko, some people, right, are afraid of bank loans. What do you say to that?
Can't blame them. Most people are brought up to think that bank loan is bad. You'll be a slave to the bank. But if you can spend a few days with me, I can totally reverse that mindset. I've seen parents attending my class reverse the mindset, go back, teach their children, and they reverse the mindset, and they successfully broke the poverty chain in their bloodline. This is important. Now, look at it this way. In the past, when you want to put money in the bank, you got to queue up, yes? But when I go to the bank to borrow money, the bank bring me to a special place, usually at the other side of the room where there's a table and chair, and then I sit down, they play soft music, there'll be a lady serving me coffee, tea, and cookies, and then the banker will then bring the loan document for me to sign. So think about it this way, right? Most people are queuing up to put money into the bank in the days before internet, but the rich are actually borrowing money from a bank, knowing how to manage money. So it's up to you to look at it. Now, let me give you an example. Property prices in Singapore generally goes up by 3 to 4% a year. If you pay 100% cash, that's how much your money grow. But if you take a 25% loan, that numbers now become 12 to 16% a year. That's how hard your money works. So the more you leverage, the higher your return grow. But this is not what we are taught in school. This is not what we are told in society. This is not a 15 minutes question that will give you enlightenment and you go, aha. No, it's not. This one, we're going to spend 3 days together because we reverse a very deep-rooted mindset that probably your parents has, probably your grandparents had. So this mindset goes back 50, 100 years. So it cannot be a 15 minutes conversation to reverse that. But when we get students to sit in the class and through a 3 days program, my God, we can successfully reverse that.
Makes sense. And how many average Singaporeans have you helped to buy their landed property?
We have about 300 to 400 families that move to landed properties, mostly through renting because they are not sure if they want to buy. But recently, a young boy wants to get married. He stays in one of the poorest area in Singapore in the past, in a HDB flat that's very tiny. And then after being with us for about 5 years, now he has money to buy a 3 million landed. He's about 32, but he's not the youngest. The youngest is this young lady. She's very entrepreneur. She follow everything step by step. And then in less than 3 years, and now she's 26, I think, and she owns her first landed in Singapore. Isn't that amazing? And of course, many older folks as well, when they join us, we also show them how they can own landed within 3 to 6 years.
Very nice. And can you tell us about one particular success story in Marko and Friends you are most proud of?
Most proud of is this couple who joined us. So they were 73, and they had a HDB flat. They want to travel around the world. They want to stay overseas. And they asked if we can use that one HDB flat to create for them enough passive income for them to stay overseas and not come back. And they follow everything we said. And at 76, they stay overseas. And that's 3 years ago. And we don't see much of them anymore. But we still keep in touch. They are healthy. They are overseas. And they are living on the passive income of the Singapore properties. That's probably one of the most enjoyable thing I have. And the other one I had was a divorced a single mom who survived cancer, was so worried that one day if she died, what happened to her 3 kids? And so we show her how to buy properties. And then so she's able to create at least 3 properties, one for each child, commercial properties, giving them passive income for a long time in case the mother pass on. Fortunately, that didn't happen. Mom didn't pass on. And then now they have several properties and they're living happily. What other stories moved my heart a lot? And that's what touched my heart. And that's what kept me going every week.
And Marko, tell us about your youngest success story you have in Marko and Friends.
We have 2 very young students. One is about 23, another one is about 17 years old. So for a 17 years old, her mom attended the class, but her mom is in the 80s. So her mom sent her daughter to class. So now mom and daughter are educated in our school. So they cook up a plan and then the mom will do the decision. The young child will do all the footwork. Isn't that beautiful? You know, families work together for financial freedom. The older student is probably a guy in the 80s. Yeah, and then he just want to live a great life until being called home by the Lord, right? And so we help him use with whatever money he has, very little, to buy a few properties. He's also wanting to donate the rest of the money to the church in case he is being called home with the Lord. So we also help him to do that. And it's very nice to get that kind of feeling. Or maybe another story is a lady who struggled with cancer. When she joined us, she's healthy. When she joined us, she was still okay, and her illness got worse. And recently she passed on. But her property investment were given to her niece that she loved a lot. And so she created a legacy for the niece. And it wouldn't be possible if she didn't join us. She's weak, but it's difficult for her to find deals. So we sort of like look at her plans. We zero in on the area. We find ways to simplify her work. We help her assess the properties. And then she bought a few. And then unfortunately, she didn't make it. But as she planned it, her legacy is passed on to her niece. And that is very nice.
Marko, also very interestingly, tell us about the oldest success story you have in Marko and Friends.
There's this couple that came to class, wife in the 50s, hubby in the 70s, and they only own one HDB flat. And they have no kids, and their dream is to stay overseas where they can see mountain, they can breathe in fresh air, where spending is no longer an issue. And so they came to class, and we taught them how to sell their only properties, convert to cash. We showed them how they can still borrow 30 years loan despite their age in commercial properties. And they bought a few deals, and the passive income is more than enough. And they have moved to overseas country. They have stayed there. In fact, they move from country to country right now, and all based on the passive income from properties in Singapore. Some people think that the older you are, the harder the dreams comes true. But for me, old got old solution, young got young problems too. So it is never the same solution for everybody.
And talking about that, what is the best age to get started in property investing?
Any age, to be honest. Any age. The best time is today. Property price will go highest when inflation is highest. And rent if you want to get passive income is highest when the interest rate is lowest. So now we see in Singapore high inflation, low interest rate. That means if you buy the right property, when you buy the right property, you're buying a property with profits built in. The property price will appreciate, the rent will appreciate, and yet you are borrowing money at lowest cost. This is the golden era. We knew this. That's why my partners and I decide to forego some holidays this year and then conduct as many classes as possible to help as many local residents as possible to own their passive income properties. It takes less than 3 years. It takes less than 3 years to be a millionaire using our system.
Very nice. And should high net worth parents invest in property for their children in Singapore?
Most high net worth people have properties for their children. But with the new laws that our government create, they cannot own multiple residential property. So a lot of them came to us to learn to own shophouse, office, and factories for their children.
Very nice. And do all commercial properties confirm make money?
No. Case in point, right?
Yeah.
I can name you a lot of factories in Tuas are losing money, despite all the hype about Tuas. I can show you a lot of properties in rundown area in Jurong, like Pioneer, that makes a lot of money. So no, not all properties make money. Not all commercial property makes money. The same thing with shop houses too. A lot of shop houses we bought make a lot of money. And then there were some of the shop houses we bought make lesser money. So it depends. It really depends. Not everything is the same, yeah.
And what is your long-term vision for Marko and Friends?
Almost every batch, almost every month or so, we will have people flying in from overseas to come Singapore to learn from us. And then they will learn the basics, they will learn the fundamentals of property investing, and they'll go back to their countries and they become successful. And some of them invite me to go their country and teach. In the past, I was reluctant because I invest in property for time freedom so that I can spend more time with my kids. And now that my kids are adults, we think that maybe we are all now ready to go overseas and teach. And why not? Because the things we teach are very basic fundamentals. We teach the average struggling average struggling employees. We teach them how to group up so that they can together maybe share a property in the beginning to lower the risk and then build enough wealth for them to own their own properties in 3 to 5 years, breaking the poverty cycle. Especially so in a third world country where most employees have farmers mindset and they have to learn how to be a landlord mindset, how to look at numbers differently, how to undo the wrong programming that society has given them. So I'm very excited about the next 3 to 5 years of my life impacting these countries.
To end it off, Marko, what are the community initiatives Marko and Friends is involved in?
We conduct gatherings a lot. We update our students on new strategies a lot. When there's a war, strategy is different. When there's no war, again, another set of strategies. When you are young, this is what you buy. When you're old, that is what you buy. And sometimes a combination of both is good. If you have kids, if you don't have kids, then maybe you should look towards other kind of properties. So we do a lot of gathering a lot. We do lunches, we do pub nights, we do closed door sharing, we do weekly sharing over Zoom because we have students overseas. We do all this because we want people to know that all it takes is 1 or 2 properties and you can sleep better, couples will quarrel lesser, and parents who buy the properties now are likely to have enough money for their children's education when they go to university, or they will have enough money to enjoy their retirement years. So I'm very excited about what we do right now.
And that was the full episode. I've covered so much. I've learned so much. I'm so excited. So Marko, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, where is the best place to get in touch with you?
I invite you to come see us. You can go to our website called markoandfriends.com.sg and then register. And we work very hard. We really want to work every Wednesday, 2 classes to meet you. You can be very candid and ask me open questions, or I'll be very candid and show you that I own properties near to your house.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Marko. And if you want to learn about property investing, young, old, couple, not couple, single, whatever you want to do, I think the best person to learn from is Marko himself. Every Wednesday, I'll send the link inside the podcast itself and then you can check it out. And thank you so much, Marko, for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. And I will see you real soon in the next episode of the GrowCast Show. Cheers, take care, and bye-bye.